Okay, let's continue cleaning up our skin weights and finish painting weights and skinning this guy, and we can move on to the fun stuff. All right, so there's still some stuff to clean up here. Obviously, we got a lot on the neck that's happening in here, and then we'll get some crazy stuff going on with the head and the jaw, which is gonna have some crazy things happening there. So one thing we're gonna do is we have these cornea here on the eyes. We're gonna turn those off. We're not really gonna use those. Those are used more for um, uh, fancy rendering, um, which we're not gonna be concerned with for this one. So, all right, we can get things cleaned up a little bit more on the neck. We didn't mess too much with. Um, so let's clean this up. We can select at least all the tie and go back to our component editor. Under Windows, General Editors, Component Editor, there it is. We'll get rid of anything on the neck there. Um, Probably nothing on the right or left clavicle, and probably not much on the mid back either. So we'll just put it all on the upper back. Okay, there were some verts on the tie here. We've shown we've got the root that has some influence, but also the pelvis, which we don't want any influence on that, and probably nothing on the upper back either. Okay, that cleaned up. And if we just select a couple of these verts and hit shift and the period key again, we can grow our selection. Kind of start going in here and saying, yeah, nothing on the jaw should be down here for sure. So nothing on the head either. So those should both be zeroed out. Left shoulder, maybe a tiny bit on those, but nothing on the neck. And nothing on the lower back up here. Okay. Be good. Maybe grab a couple of these verts and grow the selection. That. And say again, nothing on the head, nothing on the jaw. We'll zero those out. And then the mid back is down here, so nothing on the mid back, nothing really on the neck. We will zero that out as well. So yeah, we can select this whole thing. We see we still have the head and jaw being influenced on here. We definitely don't want that. And everything else is probably okay. Okay, we can do the opposite with the head. So if we double click on a vert on the head, we can go in and so we see we'll have some influence here from the upper back and probably some on our clavicles, but nothing from our shoulders, nothing past the upper back. So make sure that we are okay with that. There's our clavicles. We're actually not going to have anything on the left eye because that is selected. So nothing there. The brows are fine. The eyelid is fine. nothing on the left shoulder, and nothing on the mid back. So we'll select those and zero that out. Okay. The other thing we can do on our head here is we can pick a vert back here. This is all going to be 100%. We're just going to hit shift and that period key a few times. All of this for sure should just be on the head alone. Should have no other influence there. So do the same, just picking another vert and growing the selection a few times and knowing that all of this is going to be on the head. We don't have an ear joint. If we were, we could add stuff there, but since we don't, we're just going to grow the selection on our ear and to a certain point. And this will probably, maybe we'll take this one vert off. This would all be on the head as well. We'll do that, and we'll click a point in here, kind of grow that selection a little bit. Put this all on the head as well. And all of this should be on the head. Okay. It's just a lot of general stuff right now, just to get things cleaned up generally and get us to like a really good starting spot for painting our weights. Okay. What we can do is we can go in, this eye should be 100% on the left eye joint. So we'll select that and just type 1, that in there. And then we can pick a vert right here. And we're just going to say all of this is going to be on our jaw. So we'll grow that out maybe to about here. And this will all be on the jaw. And we can pick another point here and grow out our selection maybe to about here and say this is all going to be on the jaw. Like that. And then we're going to have some nose verts. Probably these ones at least will be all on the nose. And then it's going to soften out a lot to everywhere else. So, okay, that gets us a lot cleaner with everything and kind of to a good starting point. Okay, we're going to select this. We're going to mirror our weights. So again, go to skin and just down to the mirror skin weights and click that. And that will make sure that we're mirrored from the left over to the right and that we are all set there. So this gets us a lot closer. We can click on our jaw joint and rotate that. And that's scary. But we're going to get that cleaned up more as we continue going forward. So, but it's starting to get us there. So you can see we still have some verts on the back of the head here. So we will select a few of these and grow our selection. Nothing back here should be on our joint or on the jaw joint there. So we'll go into our skin, or sorry, windows, general editors, and pull back up our component editor. And weird stuff on the eyes and the eyelid, the left eye. So nothing on that, nothing on the jaw, and nothing on the upper back. So just between the neck and the head for all of these. We can hit F10 and go back to our edge loops and double click on an edge loop around the neck and hit Control F9 to get our verts again. And this will show us what is happening on these. So we're seeing influence from our nose. Neck is fine. Clavicle, I don't know that we would have anything from the clavicle up here. And definitely nothing on the jaw. So we'll select the jaw, the left clavicle, the nose, the right clavicle, the right eye, and the upper back. And we're just going to control click all of the holds so we're not changing that value and just typing 0 and getting that taken care of there. Okay, we can hit shift and the period key and tap it a couple times and start seeing what influence we're getting here, and still same kind of stuff. Maybe we're having a little bit of influence now from the upper back, so, and the head, but still nothing from the jaw and nothing from our clavicle or our nose. So we're going to 0 those out. Okay. Okay. All right. Again, we want to mirror our skin weights. Okay. And we're getting a lot better. Okay. So from this point on, we are going to start our weight painting here and really fine tuning a lot of this. So we'll probably still pull up the component editor from time to time to help eliminate some influence that we're not wanting, but we're going to get a lot of it taken care of with our paint weights tool. So we're going to go up here under the rigging tab. It will be here as long as we select our mesh first. We can select this tool. It's also under skin and paint skin weights. And then if we come over and we open up our tools option box, it's a little hammer here. And it's just going to list out all of our joints. So right now we're selected on the root joint, and we can see we have influence from the root, which is right here, all the way down this far here. So, and all the way up to here. So we don't actually want any of that. So with our tools, I'm going to go over to replace, and I'm going to change the value to 0. And I'm going to be painting away influence off of this joint in areas that I know I don't want it to have any influence for sure on. So as I paint, it's going to go to black. I like to use under visualization, the geometry color. I like using the color ramp, otherwise it's black and white. And using the black to red to yellow to white option, which is this. It just helps me see it a lot better. You can use, there's a different color version as well that you are welcome to use, but whatever you would like to do, it doesn't matter. This has no influence over what happens. Is just helping you to visualize how everything looks. So we're just going to focus on the left side because we're going to mirror our joints, our influence over to the left side. So I'm just, with everything set to 0 on our tool. For our value, we're not going to mess with the opacity. We are replacing these skin weights. So we're pushing these away, and it's going to go to the other joints that have influence in this area. But basically, because this is my root joint, I don't need it influencing all the way down here. So I'm just going to get rid of a lot of this and just paint this back. It is not needed. Maybe it will have a little bit of influence coming down further here. And then every time we hit our shift key, it's going to move it to smooth. And we can smooth out the value as we go, just to make sure that it's got a nice soft fall off. Okay, like that. Now the root coming up here, maybe it'll have some influence on this, but probably not. So we're going to paint this away up to here. And then we're going to smooth out by hitting our shift key, switches it to a smooth tool. And we're going to smooth out all of this. The smooth tool is really nice because if you want to add just a tiny bit of influence a little further up, you can do that by hitting the smooth, and it will just add a little bit as it kind of finds the balance between these two verts. So it's nice to be able to do that. So you're just going to be going back and forth between a lot of these tools with smoothing it. And we got some verts back here. We're going to kind of sneak in and get. Okay, we could also go inside of our model to get to some of these other verts. All right. Okay, generally that is fine. I'm just going to start using this mirror tool. If you don't have the mirror tool, just hit Control Shift. While holding Control Shift, go up to Skin and middle mouse click the Mirror Skin Weights button. And whatever settings you have set in here, it will kind of lock that in place and make a button for you just like that. So yeah, I don't need two of these, so I'm just going to right click on that and delete it. Okay. That is good. And then we're just going to kind of do the same thing all the way down. So here we're now working with our lower back. Really, once we get past this joint to about the belt buckle, there should be no influence on the lower, from the lower back joint. So all of this we're going to be painting to 0. We don't need it. We don't want it. Nothing should be down here. You can, if the brush is too big or too small, just hold down your B key and then left click and drag, and you can get a bigger or smaller brush size. That's true with every brush tool inside of Maya. So you can fine tune it so you're not over painting any area. But we're going to go in. We're going to click on this. And you'll get a feel for the tool as you go and just develop kind of your own sense to it all. But it's a lot of zooming in and a lot of clicking. So it can be a little bit tedious, but it's necessary. So half of a good rig is having good deformation, and good deformation comes from good joint placement and really well weights being painted. So if you have those things, you're halfway to having a great rig. If you can have it deform, you can build off of that really easily. But if it doesn't deform well and doesn't look good when you're moving it around, that's a much bigger problem to fix. Right? You can always add control and everything, but if you have to strip it all the way back down to your joints and reposition joints to get good deformation, that's a much bigger issue. So yeah, so we're just generally painting a lot of this away on the belt. We don't want any influence there in this area here. Okay. Okay. I'll carry over a little bit to the left side just so that if I ever smooth in those middle verts, that it'll smooth a little more the way that I'm expecting it to and wanting it to. So it's generally why you'll see me go a little past that. But again, just a billion clicks. Okay, we're going to hit our shift key and just start smoothing out some of this. Coming down. And we can see here, we've got a lot of influence coming up over here and a lot of influence on this pocket. We don't want that. So I'm going to make sure that we just replace all that with 0 and get rid of all this influence. This is the joint right here. So it highlights blue on your skeleton and it shows you, okay, this is the joint that you're adding influence to. As soon as you're getting well past another joint that's in front of it in that direction, so in this case the mid-back joint, you shouldn't be seeing much influence there. So if any. So we'll hit our shift key and just kind of smooth this area, maybe a little tiny bit, and do the same thing, just holding shift and smoothing across the back. So we're going to paint this back down. And now you'll face a lot of issues like this where you have geometry stacked on top of geometry, and it can get really difficult to be painting your weights. So what you can do is if you go into your component mode, and we'll hit F9 and hit our Q key, so we're selecting. We're going to select we're going to double click all the verts on this tie. Then we're going to come into our outliner and we're going to hit control click our root joint. Okay, and that selects everything. And then if we come up and we select this little guy right here, this is our isolate select tool, as it says. So it's the arrow with the little dashed square. And if you click it, only the things that you have selected will appear in this render view. So now all of a sudden, now we can see the other side of this. So now with this geometry selected, we can go back to our paint weights tool. And now we can get to the back side of these really, really easily. So this is a really good trick and tip to use when you're kind of dealing with a lot of stacked geometry. So if you want to be able to see your joints, though, you do have to select the joints in the outliner while you have your verts selected. Otherwise, you'll just see the mesh. So, and in this view, if you were to add joints or add other things, they won't show up in this view because they're not part of that original selection set. So keep that in mind. And then to get back out of it, you just hit that same button and we're right back there. So can replace all of that and smooth this out, and we'll just see what that kind of gets us. Okay. All right. Going to the mid back. So now we see stuff that's getting back down to the root and past that. And we don't want that. So we're going to paint that away and hit shift to smooth that out and just paint this all to black. No influence. Black is 0. And we'll just smooth this area here. Okay, we're doing a lot of smoothing and a lot of taking away. And now we can go up and we can say, hey, look, we've got these collars. They've got influence from our mid-back. It shouldn't be getting any influence up here. So we're going to paint that away and paint this away. So, and maybe just add a tiny bit of influence coming up here in the armpit. Okay. And just smoothing this kind of as we go. And then go up to our upper back. Okay, same thing with the upper back. Anything below this line, yeah, we don't want to see a lot of influence there. We're going to smooth this out. Just hitting our shift key, clicking and dragging will smooth a lot of that. And we can see here, look, we're getting all this from this upper back is coming up here. We don't want any of that, so we're just going to paint all of that away, just like that. So, and then we go to our left clavicle, and we're getting kind of that same thing. I don't know that we want anything on our tie or on this side of our model, so we're going to paint that away and just hit smooth. So generally, I'm going to smooth that out. We're just going to be building this. So we're getting some influence coming over here. We had already eliminated some of that other stuff, but we'll probably get rid of a little bit more influence from the clavicle here. And now as I'm getting into these smaller areas is when I'm probably going to be changing like my brush size and just moving that down. So, whoops, there we go. And then I can hit smooth just on these few verts without affecting the verts next to it. Okay, and we can go into our left shoulder. Now our left shoulder, we'll make our brush bigger again, because it's got influence all the way out here, and it really shouldn't. Shouldn't have any influence here, shouldn't have any influence here, and along the back. And we're just going to paint all that away. So again, we're just using the replace tool to smooth that all out and to get rid of influence. Okay, yeah, I don't know that I'll have any influence on this edge loop, this one, but then I'll make my brush small and hit my shift key to smooth out these, because this should just have a little bit of influence and should mostly be on this. Okay. So this is generally how it is. Yeah, it's pretty tedious. You're doing this a lot and you're just going through like all of your many joints. So all the way down with it, and we're just kind of generally getting everything correct in the way that we like it. So you go in here, okay, if you want to focus on just one thing and you don't want to be going back and forth with all of this, you can up here, this will limit your view according to what you type in. So you could say, hey, For right now, I just want to see everything on the left side. And so if I type L underscore and I hit a star, which is just the Shift 8 key, and I hit enter, it will just show me everything with L, so the L underscore, and it doesn't care what's after that. As long as it has L underscore, it will just limit the view to that. So you could do that for other things. And you could put the star at the beginning and just say, hey, I want to find everything that is a brow, and put the star there, and then that just shows me the joints that have the word brow in it. So it's just a good way to kind of filter and get an idea to make things a little bit easier as you're navigating in your tools selection here. So, and then you can kind of see like, hey, all this influence is coming from this left middle knuckle. All of this. So we can quickly paint all this away. And that's generally what we're doing at first. We're just working really general to get everything kind of nice. And you can see the more and more we do, like the more refined that it gets. But we're gonna do this all the way through all the fingers, all the toes, the leg, everything else. So we can eliminate that and come down to our neck. We can see the influence that we have with our neck, and we've definitely got some stuff here that's coming in from the neck that we don't want. So we're going to paint that away. And then this area, we're going to have to really see how we want that influenced. But I know I don't want neck stuff up in here, nothing in the ear, and nothing back here. But start smoothing this area, because this is where it's going to blend between the neck and the head. So I'll just kind of smooth that on out. And then get rid of some of this as it's coming into the jaw area, and smooth that out. Get rid of some more and just kind of smooth it. Okay. Got this. If you're ever looking at it and you're not sure if there's influence, a little trick that I like to do is I'll come down here and I will move my red channel really close to the black channel, and that helps bloom out all these areas that maybe have like a 0.001 influence, you know, but even a little bit of influence in the wrong spot will look bad when you're trying to deform it. So I'm gonna paint all this away because this is the neck and I don't want anything on the neck. So I'm gonna paint all of this away and just get rid of all that influence. But it helps me to see like just these really faint areas that I might have missed because the red has gotten so close to the black. So I can just kind of do that, paint it away. And then when I'm done doing that and I feel pretty confident, I can just go back and click the color presets. It's just going to push it back to the 0.5 area again, so I can see that it's all pretty normal. Make my brush a little bit smaller. And there we go. Okay, so coming back up here, we'll go to our head area. Now for the head, there's still more that I want to add to it. So instead of replacing, I'm going to switch over to my add tool, and I'm going to put this value up to like 0.15-ish, right? It's not a ton because this is all additive. So if I click it multiple times, it's going to get brighter and brighter and brighter until it turns white. Okay, and that's what I want. Maybe because I am focusing on adding going straight to white in a lot of this area, I'm going to just crank it up to 0.25 and use a bigger brush. Okay, and all this is going to be my head area. Okay, I'll just adjust my brush size for the different areas that I'm working in. But this is going to get me pretty close to what I want for my head. So obviously this area is going to get some influence from the eyelids and the eyebrow, so I'm not painting in there. And then just painting all the ear on, and then I can just kind of smooth this area. So again, just hitting the shift key to smooth it out, and then seeing how far that comes down. I don't want influence on this here, but I will get more influence in this area, the upper lip. And we'll just smooth along that jaw, smooth in this area, and we'll just be smoothing this so that we have a nice gradual fall off. Okay. And we're going to smooth this a little bit. And then we can do the same thing and go to our jaw. So at this point, we're always adding to the joint that we have selected. So pay attention to the joint that you're selecting in your tool so that you're not adding or subtracting from the wrong thing, because that's pretty annoying. So I'm coming up here, I'm adding a little more influence, and then I'm smoothing a lot of this out that's on the jaw. So we'll have a little bit of influence, but not a ton, coming down underneath this. We're just going to, like that, smooth this area out. And then you can see our mirror function happening pretty well right here. There we go. So you can see we've just mirrored it across. We're just going to smooth it out a little bit in this area and do the same thing. We'll just mirror that. It is mirroring all the influences, not just the thing we have selected. So just a thing to note. Okay, so yeah, you're either going to be adding or replacing influence from all of your joints, and it's just going to be a tedium of going through and testing it all. So I'm going to stop the video here, and we will pick back up with this in the next video and start covering more on the legs and just getting more things refined and painted as we go.